Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest for the first segment today, her name is Margaret Watt. She is the Executive Director of the Southwest Regional Mental Health Board, and we are here to talk about mental health today. First of all, Margaret's first time on the show, so welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sean.
The Southwest Regional Mental Health Board, what is that?
It's a private nonprofit organization that serves southwestern Connecticut. We're funded by the State Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services.
So mental health is going to be the topic today, and we talked about this off the air. Mental health is sort of a term that really gets used a lot, sometimes misused a lot too, because it can be used as sort of it's a broad blanket, isn't it?
It is. What we're specifically here to talk about today in particular is youth mental health and supporting people's mental wellness. So, as you say, it can be a blanket. I mean, there are people who have a diagnosable mental illness, and then there are people who are struggling with everyday stress, and there are people who actually feel healthy every day. But most of us are somewhere on a continuum. And in particular, we've developed a new website that's a state resource to support young adults, high school and college aged, in their search for mental wellness.
And that's where they are. They're on the internet. They're on social media.
That's the idea.
Yeah, but in internet in general, so you want to present yourself, be available to where they are, right? And so that's why the website totally makes sense.
Exactly. And the website, which is called www.turningpointct.org, it was developed by young adults from Connecticut who are people who have actually kind of gone through their own issues with mental health disorders, substance use disorders, and they're now in recovery. And they looked back and said, what would have helped us along our journey, and developed this resource for young people who may be struggling.
Why young people? Why is it targeted to young people?
Young people are identified as an at-risk group. Mental illnesses tend to start on average by age 14. Addiction disorders often start by age 19. And there are some really stunning statistics that are frightening if you're a parent, as I am. For example, on surveys of college age and high school age students, up to almost half of college age students report that they felt hopeless for at least a 2-week period during the preceding year. Up to a quarter of high school students felt hopeless. So those are signs of probable depression. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for the 15 to 24-year-old age group.
When I heard that stat, that's mind-boggling to me.
Right.
And obviously, you delve into the background and the core reasons why these things happen. What's going on in the world now?
I think some of this was always there. I mean, for the general population, not any specific age group, you actually have 1 in 5 people suffering with some type of mental illness in any given year. Like anxiety is probably the most prevalent, depression is number 2. But if you think about high school and college age students, you have such a period of transition going on. You have bullying from middle school on.
And that specifically is a very big problem now that it, again, probably been a problem all along, but it's just kind of come out into the fore. When you get into, when it's kind of morphed into cyberbullying as well as just regular bullying, so that makes it that much more of a deal.
It can hit you anywhere from any direction. Yeah, and so we have 22% of high school students reporting that they were bullied in the past year. So that's, more than 1 in 5. I mean, and that in and of itself is going to cause all kinds of related anxieties and issues for the student who's bullied and for, the friends who are witnessing it. And then you can even talk about the family members. So
the fact that we talk about the specific issues like bullying, just as one example, is that a sign that we're moving in the right direction as far as helpfulness goes, that we're getting it out in the light in the public?
I think so. I mean, in the field of mental health, we talk a lot about stigma, because what we find is people in general take years to get the help they need, 6 to 10 years sometimes to get help. And a lot of it is because there is such stigma around talking about these issues. No one wants to address, you don't want to go to a friend or a family member and go, are you really
Right.
You know, are you hurting? Can I help you? And the person
feel
in particular
judged.
doesn't want, right, you feel judged, the person in particular doesn't want to ask for help.
Pride is a big problem with, because just like a lot of things where you don't want to admit that you have the problem, or you're afraid because of what society will say about you, and then that only kind of compounds itself and makes the situation worse, doesn't
Right.
it?
Well, and look at what happens in the media. Usually, your show accepted, obviously.
Right, of course.
But you know, mental illness is totally associated with things like the Newtown incident and all these violent acts that have happened. You know, and in schools, Columbine, going back to Columbine. But that's not what mental illness looks like in the real world. I mean, the real world, if 1 out of 5 people has some type of mental illness, then every one of us knows someone, or it's us ourselves, or it's someone in our family who's probably just, you know, got a lot of anxiety or depression. And people who have illnesses like schizophrenia, it doesn't look like the things that we see in the media. It's just people. And if we can talk about it, and if you can put a human face on it, then people can realize that, you know, talking helps, because really what we all need is peer support.
Right.
We all need peer support. We may need therapy. We may need more. We may need medication. But all of that is available if you're willing to, you know, put yourself out there.
Take the first step, and
Take the
that's,
first step.
always the toughest job, is toughest part, isn't
And
it?
hence Turning Point. Your
Yep.
turning point may be this website, but it may be just that you need a person to talk to, and that's all you need, and then that's there.
So let's get into the minutia of the website. Really get into detail about what's on it, for people to go and see, young people to go and see. Talk about it a little bit.
The website was developed entirely by young people to help other young people at whatever stage they're at. So we had a young adult advisory group who looked at the research that other young adults did and said, you know, what's needed is peer support and peer empowerment and a question and answer guide if you're trying to navigate some kind of service system. So one main component of the website is what we call the Q&A guide, and it's set up literally with questions, and you click and find the answer, because if you actually are using or needing mental health services, there's no such thing as one streamlined, nice system.
It's so true. Right?
It's very fragmented, so you can't just go, you know, if this, then that. You kind of click around.
Right, but that's okay. But find specifically, you can kind of almost glean to really what you're looking for, right?
Exactly. You
Yeah.
know, you're like, you know, should I talk to my school guidance counselor first, or should I go to a social worker? And what is a social worker? You know, oh, how am I going to pay for this? You find those answers. Another big component of the website is to offer peer support, so you can read people's stories and you can upload your own story.
Not just people, but other young people too. And I think that's important, because you don't want
Correct.
to talk to adults if you're a young person.
The
Because
adults
they-
are not allowed.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah.
Right. So the stories that are up there now are stories from young adult. The stories where you have a photo and you have people answering some basic questions about what happened to you and what was your turning point. Those stories have all been submitted so far by young adults who are in recovery, so you can really maybe find yourself in the process they went through.
Are they anonymous, or do they give their names?
They often give their first name. Some
Okay.
people just post their photos. But it's up to them.
Right, okay.
And anyone can post their own story. We also have videotaped discussions among young adults. We have poetry people have uploaded. People can upload videos of their own. So we really want people to make this theirs. And then we have a discussion forum called Let's Talk. And that is the place where, you know, we're excited to see this kind of take off now that the school year is starting and now that the real promotion of the website is starting, because we would love to see high school, college students, college-age students in the community have the option to just all be talking to each other. And so, you know, it's 3 a.m. and you're in Bristol and someone else is online down in Stamford, and you know, you're feeling lonely or you're feeling upset, and who are you going to talk to? Well, you'll find someone.
I think you know, you hit on something there at the start of the school year, because for a lot of young people, school is their outlet of being social, you know, and it almost kind of determines your status in society, but it molds you in your ability to communicate, be social, or be pushed around.
Yep.
Yeah, or be pushed around. So,
Yep.
you know, that happens, and then either the stress kicks in, the anxiety kicks in, and then maybe the website is a place to go for some kind of relief or help, right?
That's our view of it. I mean, because, you know, whether you're in school or not in school, I mean, everyone has stress related to academics or work or your family dynamics, or there's something going on with your friends, or you don't feel like you have friends. And, you know, I was struck when we did focus groups, or we had these young adult researchers doing focus groups as part of this project. We did interviews with key informants around the state. And one of the things that struck me so much was that anyone who had struggled but kind of come out on the other side always had some type of peer support they pointed to as being part of their turning point. It made the difference for them. So if you don't have that peer support in your school setting, then maybe you do find it online, and hopefully in a positive vein, because it's not, it's not the forum that we have, Let's Talk, is going to be moderated, and it's not going to be a place where you get cyberbullied.
Right, right. And for those people who do come out on the other side, do they possibly sort of become a mentor, if you will, in return, maybe, or at the very least are able to give some kind of advice if it worked for them?
Absolutely. If you go to the website, you will see stories and comments and posts from people who've gone through it all. They've kind of been there, done that, and their advice to people is really helpful. And we had our big launch party last week. So this is a brand new site, and one of the young adults who was there just said to the open audience, if you have trouble, just post something and I will respond, I will help you. And I think that's their general feeling is, I want to be there for you because I didn't feel like someone was there for me 7 years ago.
Are you also on social media as well? Because that's where the young people are too. It's one thing to be on the internet or on a
Right.
website, but and social media, of course, is just like the way that you've designed this website. Social media is very interactive, so
Right.
Communicating
We
back
have a
and forth.
Facebook community page, we have a Twitter page, we have Pinterest, we have a YouTube channel, but most of the YouTube videos are also available
Right, on the
right on
website.
the site.
Right.
But I think the most interactive piece we're hoping will actually be the Let's Talk discussion forum,
forum.
right there, because we'd like people, right there
In one
on the
central
site.
location. So the more people you have, the more people to help and to listen, to be an ear, and also another maybe a point of view, an opinion, or another
Exactly.
person that someone might be able to relate to.
Exactly. And so and just like you said, the more people we have, the better it's going to work. So that's why we're trying to really raise awareness of the website. So I have to thank you for putting us on the show, because that's one way to get the word out there. And we also have the State Department of Education, the Board of Regents, Department of Children and Families, and of course the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, because they funded this, all helping to raise the visibility of the site.
When you talk about funding, you are a nonprofit, of course, so funding is key, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
sometimes a little difficult, daunting task. would you
Yes,
say?
and that's why really DEMIS has been tremendously generous in supporting this project, because
As project director, what is your role? And was there sort of overseeing the website and kind of getting it off the ground?
yeah, we had a whole research component of the project. We had 14 focus groups around the state. We had some grad students researching what technologies were already out there, what social media, what apps, what websites that serve this population. So we went through various phases, and we had this whole design phase, and we did contract with Taylor Design, which is a web development or a graphics and marketing firm in Stamford, Connecticut, and they actually put it together once we had it. We had a video shoot. I mean, so it was sort of directing the pieces and
Right.
putting it together, but the people involved throughout were young adults at every stage. And our project coordinator, who I know you'll be talking to, is Vered Brandman, and she's a young adult herself in recovery, and she's been a tremendous asset.
What do you say to a young person who wants to be involved with the site, maybe has problems, but don't want their dad to go on and read it, or mom, or any adult, a teacher? Is that possible?
It is possible, because you define how what your username is.
Okay.
I mean, you do have to, anyone can kind of lurk and read anything
Right.
on the website, but to join the discussion forum, you have to create a username, and you can say what that is, and you can put any picture of yourself you want. Someone put a cupcake, so
Now I'm hungry. Give out the website one more time for people to go and learn more.
www.turningpointct.org.
Margaret Watt, the Executive Director for the Southwest Regional Mental Health Board and the Project Director for TurningPointCT.org. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks a lot, Sean.
Let's take a break and come back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest for this segment is Vered Brandman. She is the project coordinator for TurningPointCT.org. It's what we've been talking about for the whole show. Vered's also a first-timer on the show, so welcome you to the show.
Thanks, Sean.
So you are what we like to call a young person. and you're involved in this, but you also have a history that kind of led you down this path to where you are now. You want to kind of take us back in time a little bit and talk about it?
Well, I've had symptoms of depression and post-traumatic stress disorder since I was 10 years old. But I didn't really get help that helped until 10 years later. And so for the last 7 years since then, so I'm 27, for the last 7 years since then, I've been moving through the sort of the system and the different types of services and peer support and opportunities that are available, none of which are listed in a place that I could find so I can learn right away about clubhouses and peer support and wellness and things like that. So it's all been a learning process.
Now, when you say you didn't get the proper help right away, does that mean that it wasn't available? Were you not diagnosed properly? Did you not know where to turn? Like we know that a thing like TurningPointC.org didn't exist yet, but what was available to you back then?
Well, what I was able to access was therapy. Not meds, not a diagnosis. Nobody was really able to clue into the fact that this was serious because nobody was asking me the hard questions.
So the people that were helping you really didn't understand either. So it was sort of futile, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. But luckily, as time went on and we as a society understand it a little bit more, you were able to get some help.
Yeah.
Now, your role in TurningPointCT.org as project coordinator, how did that come about?
Well, I've been involved with the project for a lot longer than I've been the project coordinator. I've only been coordinator since March, but I was involved in the first focus group, part of the research phase of the project. I bumped into an old friend, Michaela Fissel, who was conducting research for the project. She was getting people together for the focus group, happened to be at my college campus. And after the focus group, she was taking applications for the advisory group, and I was very excited about being part of that because they were just starting to figure out what exactly this project, what the product needed to be, and I was very excited to be a part of that process.
The very initial stages of it then,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And so how did it kind of describe like how it evolved into what it is now? Was it a slow process? Was there a lot of different people giving input, different ideas, just to kind of make it into what it is now?
Well, the project really started in, I believe, January 2013, so it hasn't been going on for quite that long, but it's
evolved into what it is now. It probably, every new idea needs some tweaks, right? Maybe every once in a while something will fall through the cracks, but that's how you learn and it just improves and gets better, right?
Yeah, well, the research from the focus groups and other research that took place, we all knew that some of us came from our own experiences, and some of us were looking at this for the first time on the advisory group because we had members who, like myself, had experience with mental health or addiction issues, and some of us who didn't. And because those are the people that we're also trying to reach with this website. We want to reach not just people who have a diagnosed or a diagnosable disorder, but also people who just need support, young people who just want somebody to listen. So we wanted input from those people as well.
I'm sure that it is a virtual certainty that everybody has somebody in their life, whether it's a family or close friend or somebody, that has been touched in some way by mental illness. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And it's almost like if it's not you, it's somebody else. So it affects everyone.
Yeah, if it's not you, it's somebody you know, and you might not know that they're struggling, and that might be because they don't know how to talk about it or they don't feel safe talking about it.
People, when they don't know how to talk about it, how do they? What should they do? How do you when you don't even understand it yourself and you're going through it and you're suffering, how do you start the conversation with somebody, with anybody?
Well, the conversation that I had that really got me started was with my dad, and in 2007. I basically blew up at him because it had been something that I had been working on and off on my own with some support from my parents for at that point 10 years.
So they were
And
aware.
So they were somewhat aware, but they didn't quite have an understanding of how serious it was and how much I was struggling.
And it's not by any
So-
fault of their own. They just did not
No.
get it, understand, right?
No. And to her credit, my mother always supported me in, if I have a concern, we can go find somebody to talk to. She never. I know that from parents I've heard that they want to do what they can, but they also want to make sure that. I mean, I can talk to my mom about a lot of things, but she wanted me to know that it was okay to reach out for help, that it was okay for
You
me
mean someone besides her?
someone besides her, that
Right.
she's my mother and she loves me, but she
She understands that there are people that specialize in this
Yeah.
to try to help people, right?
Yeah.
And it's only going to help you if you
Yeah.
can reach out. I want to get into specifically when you get onto the website and into the help forums. I know that you're big into that, and you're posting a lot, and you're adding a lot of input. First of all, I can ask these questions because you're talking about an example. People are anonymous when they want to be. What kind of problems? What kind of things are they asking for help with, and what are some of the things that you say?
Well, so far there isn't a lot of asking for help because so far with the awareness that we've had up until now of the website being available to people, the people who are coming, who are participating in the forums, are people in recovery. They're young adults in recovery. They're doing the work. They're connected to the resources, and they're in the process.
Right.
So they're mostly coming to us to talk about, it was really hard for me. I'm doing really great. I'm working on this new thing. One person commented that, she's also going through this process that I've just finished of going off of meds in
Okay.
a responsible, safe way. And that's not a thing that we had heard about, either of us. And she wanted to know what it's like, what she should expect.
And you were there to kind of maybe share your experiences and kind of almost be a shoulder too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, right. And so the idea is to try to, what we've been talking about, try to get more and more young people to find the site
Yeah.
and go there. You want them to share the site with their friends, family, just get the word out to as many people as you can that this place exists and it can help you, right?
Yeah, it's for them. It's if you have a diagnosis, it's for you. If you have a concern, it's for you. If you're concerned about your friend or your family member, if you're just feeling alone, if you're just feeling sad, it doesn't need to be a big scary thing. It can just be stress, anxiety.
And I think it's comforting for a lot of people to know that someone like you who has experienced it and is going through it you're one of them. I mean, people always can associate with someone who's experiencing what they're experiencing, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's take one more quick break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. So we are just about out of time, but I wanted to ask you what's next, because it's always about going forward. We talked a lot about the website. What's next? What's the big thing?
Well, we're really looking forward to going on college campuses and meeting young people where they are through wellness events like the Jordan Matthew Porco Memorial Foundation's Fresh Check Days and other events. So we want...
You just want everybody to come out and
Yeah.
be a part of it. And is that event, I assume, as well as many others on the website for people to go and see where it's at and what it's all about?
Well, we're going to have in the forums, one of our threads is for announcements. And
Okay, good.
We're going to announce upcoming events. And we're also hoping that young people around the state will come and share what events they're aware of or that they're organizing, because there are young adults organizing events around mental wellness around the state.
Spread the word, right? One more time on the website so people can go and be part of it.
TurningPointCT.org.
All right. That is our show for today. Vered Brandman, I want to thank you for being on the show for this segment. You are the project coordinator for TurningPointCT.org. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You can see this show and many others on our YouTube sites. Till next time, I'm Sean Murphy. Take care.